What's going on, UFC fans? I'm back here with another video here set for you guys. Going to be going in depth and giving my breakdown and predictions to the UFC 315 card. Going to be giving these out right now. Even though I'm not going to be going through all of these fights on this card, because some of the fights on this card is actually pretty trash. They're going to be in Montreal, Canada. You know how they do Canada dirty, even though this main card is actually pretty interesting. But starting off this card, we got Brad Katona versus Begzak Almacan. Brad Katona right now is coming off a loss against G Matsumoto, who I believe G Matsumoto is actually a pretty good stand-up kickboxer last time out. Begzak, he made his UFC debut against Umar Nurmagomedov, and it went to an absolute decision. So Begzak, I remember in that fight that he actually made it pretty tough against Umar. I think he actually rocked Umar with a right hand, but besides that, Umar was pretty much dominant throughout this fight. It was his first fight in the UFC. I did think it was kind of crazy just matching up against Umar, who's like, literally was the number one contender. Besides that, was like a fight out. After that, he got the sad hanging fight. In this one, unfortunately, for Brad Katona being a native Canadian, I'm going to go with Begzak. I just think that he's better overall with it being on the feet. I think he's able to hurt Brad Katona more often, and I think the grappling, you already know what the brothers are capable of in terms of the grappling. Moving up the card, we got Marc-Andre Barriault versus Bruno Silva. Loser fest. I think the loser out of this fight is probably going to get cut from the UFC, in my honest opinion. Marc-Andre Barriault is coming off a three-fight losing streak. The last two coming them by KO, but the one KO that he had against Joe Pyfer, where he got absolutely annihilated by like a left hook, and Dustin Stoltzfus. If Dustin Stoltzfus is finishing you, that's a problem. But even worse, on the other side, we got Bruno Silva, who's coming off a four-fight losing streak, losing to Brennan Allen and Sher Magomedov. No slouches. They're actually pretty decent in the rankings in the middleweight division. You got lost via eye poke to Chris Weidman, and then last time out, he looked absolutely frail. He looked like a shell of himself, even though he wasn't a tremendous athlete or fighter in there in the first place. But Bruno Silva could be able to give you some type of issues, especially on the feet. Against Ismail Nadoyev, man, he just looked like the shell of himself. And at least, yeah, it being in Canada, I think that there's a home field advantage for Marc-Andre Barriault going against a guy with Bruno Silva as of right now, who kind of keeps his chin up in the air, can be very chinny. And in there, Marc-Andre Barriault is going to be slugging in with those hooks. I think he eventually gets a K over Bruno Silva. I can't just think to pick Bruno Silva to win a fight. In my honest opinion, the last time out, the way that he looked, man, that was atrocious. So I'm gonna go with Marc-Andre Barriault by KO against Bruno Silva, and hopefully in brutal fashion. And moving up the card, we got Navajo Sterling versus Ivan Urslan. Navajo Sterling is coming off his UFC win debut against Taco Tacos, where Taco Tacos was absolutely atrocious in that fight. Should have been a fighter, in my honest opinion. Navajo Sterling completely obliterated him on the feet. And you got Ivan Urslan, the big, stocky build in the light heavyweight division. The big tank, stubby of a dude. Last time out of him, he lost to Jan Kutilaba in a split decision where it was a very, very close fight between him and Jan, but I believe Jan, deservedly so, got the nod ahead of him. He was more active, doing more things, especially on the feet. And with this one, I just think Navajo Sterling is just going to put I wouldn't say a masterclass, but he's definitely going to outperform. He's just going to keep things at range. He's going to keep Ivan Ursan, at bay, and it's just going to be hard for him to be able to get in the range and really left off those power shots he's willing to be able to get off. And maybe test the chin of Navajo Sterling. I could be able to see that. I don't think things are going to be able to go to the ground. Navajo Sterling had some issues with that with Taco Tacos, trying to be able to, get some takedowns, make it gritty, get it dirty. But Navajo Sterling showed some pretty decent takedown defense. So I think that he's going to be able to outpoint Ivan Urslan and potentially get a KO, but I'm actually going to go with a unanimous decision in that one. And moving up the card, we got Modestas Bukauskas versus Jan Kutilaba. Jan Kutilaba is coming on a two-fight win streak as of right now. The aforementioned Ivan Urslan, and he also got a triangle submission over Ibo Aslan. It's kind of, similar names between those two guys, kind of the similar regions as well. So he's kind of on a streak as of right now. He's looking a lot more smarter in there, using his IQ, getting in the takedowns, keeping things meaty with those hooks on the feet. But he, again, using his IQ a little bit more, not insanely more, but using it a little bit more. We're getting the takedowns, getting the grappling, mixing things up. And Modestas Bukauskas, as of right now, is on a 2-fight win streak. Last time out, he got a nasty KO over against Rafael Cerquita and Marcin Prochnow. But beforehand, he had a UFC stint before the UFC stint that he's on as of right now. And some of the competition that he's fought against as of right now has kind of been lackluster. In his first go round, he actually went against Khalil Roundtree and got KO'd. He lost by split decision to Mikhail Alexeychik. So when he goes and levels up in, different type of competition, it's not really good for Modestas. Maybe it wasn't the right time for him. And as of right now, they're taking their time with him as of right now. But he hasn't fought a power puncher in a while. Somebody that has some type of danger. Somebody like a Jan Kuchilaba who's absolutely insane, a marauder on the feet, as they say. So it's going to be some type of issues, I think, on the feet for Modestas Bukauskas just to try to able to do the things that he's been doing as of note recently. I don't think he will have that type of success against Jan Kuchilaba, especially in that first round. But I'm going to lean more to Modestas Bukauskas, keeping things at range. He's the taller and longer fighter, has a reach, and keeping things rangy on the feet, has power as well. But Jan Cutelaba just has this issue of where he kind of throws fights away. But again, he's been working on his IQ. He's been doing a lot better in terms of those things of that nature. I kind of want to believe in Jan Cutelaba and go with him in this matchup, but I'm going to go with Modestas Bukauskas by KO in this fight. And moving on up on the card, we got Jessica Andrade versus Jasmine Desuda Vicious. Jessica Andrade is coming off a loss to Natalia Silva, who's been on an absolute tear as of right now in her UFC career. But Jessica Andrade has fought the who's who in the UFC, in the flyweight division, and I believe in the bantamweight division she fought as well, or the strawweight division, excuse me. She's held the belt before. She's dropped the belt. She's been on winning streaks. She's been on losing streaks. She's known for being really good on the feet with her striking and obviously having the best KO ability on the feet, really. I mean, just look at her build and look at the way that she looks and her chin. Her testosterone is probably off the charts, if we're being quite honest. And Jasmine Desuda Vicious is on a 4-fight win streak as of right now. Two of them of her wins on her win streak coming by submission. She's beat Fatima Klein, Ariana Lipsky, Maribona Silva last time out. So she has some pretty decent names on her resume. Same thing that you can say for Jessica Andrade. But really, Jasmine Desuda Vicious gets the work done on the ground. A lot of top control, a lot of submission threats. And I think she stays on routine. Jessica Andrade has been kind of up and down, just going through the motions. She gets her wins, she gets her losses. But she's really, I'm not going to say she's really there for the paycheck. But she has been very active. And I think the wins and losses to her, even though she's kind of built this credibility as like a gatekeeper through these divisions, that's pretty much what she is as of right now, in my honest opinion. And I kind of do believe in Jasmine Desuda Vicious as of her career as of right now is on the upward trajectory. And Jessica Andrade is kind of just middling it out as of right now. So I'm going to go with Jasmine Desuda Vicious, getting a decision victory with a lot of top control, some ground and pound, and, some threatening with submissions. But I don't think she'll finish off Jessica Andrade on the ground, but I wouldn't be surprised if she actually did. And moving on up the card, we got Mike Malott versus Charles Radke. Mike Malott is coming off that underwhelming win against Trevon Giles, and Charles Radke, he's coming off that KO win against Matthew Semmelsberger, who I think is a tier below of a Mike Malott, in my honest opinion. But Mike Malott, especially coming off that loss against Neil Magny, I think his confidence was very shaken where he had that fight won, but he literally just gassed out in that third round. And while he did win the fight against Trevon Giles, it was very underwhelming again. He basically won the fight off volume. It wasn't anything impressive. I think it was just a win to be able to get himself some type of momentum, some confidence back into him. But to me, he looks like he doesn't want to be able to get in a lot of exchanges. He's kind of worried about getting hit or getting hurt. He's worried about losing as well. And Charles Radke brings in a different type of problem that he actually has some type of power in his hands. His stand-up is actually pretty okay. And Mike Malott is not giving the same type of issues that Carlos Prates is going to give to a Charles Radke. So I'm actually going to go with Charles Radke in this one. I think he gets the job done. I think he gets it a lot more dirty. Even though Mike Malott is pretty good and he's technical on the feet, I don't think his game is very extravagant. It is very rudimentary and simple, and that can be able to win you fights, but it's just very basic. There's not a lot of issues that I think that Charles Radke can encounter with Mike Malott that will really throw him off of his game. So I'm going to go with Charles Radke in that one over Mike Malott. And moving on to the main card, we got Benoit Saint Denis versus Joel Alvarez. Unfortunately, what will be a slaughter to the Lambs. Benoit Saint Denis is on a 2-fight losing streak as of right now. We already know the KO loss that he had to Dustin Poirier and the dock stoppage by Renato Moicano, where his face looked like an absolute bloody mess. It looked like a horror mask that he was wearing on his face. I mean, just Renato was dominant on him on the ground and especially on the feet. He was pretty much doing whatever he wanted to be able to do. And Joel Alvarez, as of right now, is on the come up. He's on a 3-fight win streak, 2 by KO, 1 by submission, all of them by finish, beating guys like Elver Brenner, and Jakar Close. I think they're pretty decent names, unranked, in the lightweight division. Tall, lanky guy, keeping things in range. He's also pretty good on the ground as well. Has submission threats. Can be able to mix things up with the grappling. I don't think there's any way, shape, or form that Benoit Saint Denis can be able to get this victory, especially as the way that he's been looking as of recently. I unfortunately really like Benoit Saint Denis, and I like his game a lot. He's definitely like a marauder, as we say. He has the heart of a warrior, but going against Joe Alvarez, you're pretty much just signing yourself up to get brutally finished, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Joe Alvarez will get the job done, and he will be streaking and getting his name out there, especially with the Spain background, another name that they really need besides Ilia Topuria in the UFC as of right now. He's on his way up in the lightweight division. And moving on up the card, we got Alexa Grasso versus Natalia Silva. We talked a little bit about Natalia Silva earlier before. She is undefeated in the UFC. She beat Jasmine Vicious in her UFC debut. She has a recent victory over Jessica Andrade, another name that we talked about earlier. She's been looking absolutely great, especially with the stand-up. She is an issue. She's really crisp with her kickboxing. And, of course, we have Alexa Grasso coming off a bad loss of Valentina Shevchenko. They already had their trilogy of matchups. First time out, she got the rear naked choke victory over her. Second time out, it was a very close decision draw where I think they should have gave it to Shevchenko. And last time out, like I recently just talked about, Shevchenko just completely dominated her on the ground, doing whatever she wanted to. And it was a very boring fight, but Valentina got the win however she wanted to be able to get the win, and that was especially dominating Alexa Grasso on the ground. Now, Natalia Silva, she is pretty decent with her grappling, and she can be able to mix that in, but I think this is going to be standing more on top of the feet. Alexa Grasso, with that Mexican background, she's more heavy on her lead leg, and especially with her boxing, that's more of the majority of the work that she's doing. And Natalia Silva, again, like I said earlier before, she's on a streak right now. She's beating pretty much the who's who in this division as of right now. She's streaking. I believe this is the number one contender bout. Besides Aaron Blanchfield and Macy Barber, I think they also have that matchup, but that's for like a UFC fight night. So this is for like next in line, in my honest opinion, especially after the co-main event fights that they have slated for this event. I'm going to go with Natalia Silva. I like her just overall better. I think she's more versatile on the feet. I think she can be able to give a lot of problems to Alexa Grasso. Grasso has the championship pedigree. She also has been used to having a lot of 5-round fights. So jumping back into a 3-round fight, it's going to be maybe a little bit of issue to be able to start up maybe in that first round to get things going. I think Natalia Silva builds up a lead, and I think she eventually goes away and wins this fight against Alexa Grasso in that matchup. And moving on up to the feature fight, we got the King of Rio and his return to the UFC. A lot of, in my honest opinion, terrible booking for Jose Aldo. You had the return against Jonathan Martinez, where he came in as an underdog in that fight and just completely nullified him on the feet. And then you have the terrible split decision loss to Mario Bautista, where Mario Bautista literally robbed his way to a win. It's disgusting that people actually have that in mind, that this is the way that they want to be able to win and look as a fighter to be able to get higher up in the rankings. Mario Bautista, you slime ball, you disgusting, dumb idiot that you are, whatever, is matched up against Ayman Zahabi. Ayman Zahabi's on a 5-5 win streak. The last two wins of note against David Basharat and Pedro Munoz. So he's streaking as of right now. He's looking very good. But against Jose Aldo, again, terrible booking in my honest opinion for Aldo. You got to treat your legends with a lot more respect than what they're doing as of right now. A lot more matchups that, especially fantasy matchups that we can be able to book for Jose Aldo. You know, dream matchups that we couldn't be able to see a lot earlier for himself in the bantamweight division. I'm going to go with Jose Aldo in this one. I think he completely nullifies and makes Ayman Zahabi look like a nobody out there. While, again, he's on a 5-5 win streak, the names of note don't even compute even to his age and the mileage that Jose Aldo has on his career. I just don't think there's any way, shape, or form for Ayman Zahabi to be able to come out on top on this one. And moving on to the co-main event, we got, in my opinion, the hardest fight to be able to pick on this card. The return champion and the queen of the women's flyweight division, Valentina Shevchenko, versus the longtime number one contender in this division, that being Manon Fiorot, who deserved this title shot a few years ago. But obviously you had the Grasso trilogy that she had to be able to pass through, and she just continued on winning and to be able to claim finally now this title shot that she's been waiting for quite some time. And we talked about it earlier with Grasso. Valentina, she's coming off the Grasso trilogy. She's coming off that win. Very underwhelming, but whatever. She did what she needed to be able to do. She was dominant on the ground, having top control, and really just doing what she wanted to against Grasso with the grappling and wrestling exchanges. But Manon Fiorot, man, she is undefeated so far in the UFC. She's beaten the names of like Maribel Silva, Tabitha Ricci, Rose Namajunas, Erin Blanchfield last time out. So she's pretty much swept out this division. She's beat the who's who so far, besides I would say like Alexa Grasso or earlier Natalia Silva. She hasn't matched up with them as of yet. But against Valentina Shevchenko, I think the takedown defense has already been proven against Manon Fiorot just to keep things on the feet. This is definitely going to be a stand-up fight between these two. And I think the speed advantage definitely goes to Valentina, but I just like the IQ and the timing of Manon Fiorot, where she's just capable of keeping things the way that she wants to be able to have it, keep things at her speed. Valentina Shevchenko is, again, does she want to be able to reign over this division, continue to be able to press forward, especially with the age that she's starting to be able to go into. She's, father time is starting to creep up on her, in my honest opinion. It was a great win for her to be able to get back to where she needs to. There were some chinks into the armor, in my honest opinion, in the Grasso trilogy. In the first fight, obviously, she got caught off guard. The second fight was very close, but she got caught a few times. And if she's getting caught by Grasso, I definitely think that she's going to be getting caught by Fiorot, who I think is a better kickboxer overall. Boxing straight with the hand, she's okay. This one's tough to be able to call, in my honest opinion. But the way that Manon Fiorot has been streaking, and Valentina's just been busy with the Grasso trilogy, and finally she's going to be able to get a new opponent. I wouldn't be surprised if Shevchenko retained and got a decision victory over Manon Fiorot 3-2. I think this is going to be a very close fight. But I think Manon Fiorot has gone through enough. She's been through the ringer. She's consistently stayed on top of this division, despite even challenging for the title as of yet. And I think she finally reigns over this division, and I think she's going to get the title belt and the win over Valentina Shevchenko by decision, 3-2, maybe 4-1. I think she's going to be pretty dominant in the rounds that she wins, but there's going to be some close rounds 100% by Valentina Shevchenko. And moving on to the main event, we got JDM versus the welterweight championship title holder. I'm trying to be able to remember this dude's name, but I completely forgot his name. I just know that he's holding the welterweight title belt hostage as of right now. And if he loses this fight, he has no issue dropping the title and letting the 155 title belt holder and possibly the pound for pound number one fighter as of right now, Islam Makhachev, since he's his brother and he's trained with him one time, he finds it really easy to be able to let him just come up and, get that title shot. But if he wins, he definitely is not going to fight against his brother because that's not what his religion, his team, and his camp, and what his God wants. Leave it to be, that's him. But we have him face up against JDM. JDM is undefeated in the UFC as of right now, has wins over Randy Brown as of right now. And looking back at that win, very, very underrated win, especially how Randy Brown has been streaking as of right now. Last week he got a KO victory over Nicholas Dalby that was absolutely disgusting. Wins over Kevin Holland and Gilbert Burns last time out that he's been in the octagon. It's been over a year that he's been in a fight. I mean, he's been scheduled against Leon. That got canceled. So since that got canceled, they got Sean Brady in there, and they gave JDM the title belt because Shavkat was supposed to be going against the guy that was holding the welterweight title belt as of right now. But Shavkat got in with the injury, and they needed a title contender and somebody that's high enough in the rankings to be able to go. And the guy that's holding the welterweight title belt as of right now, he's on a 10-fight win streak. He's pretty much beating the who's who. He's beating Gilbert Burns, beating Vicente Luque, Wonderboy Thompson, giving the first loss to Sean Brady, who's actually a really good look as of right now because he's the number one contender in the welterweight division, and he's an absolute problem. I would love to see the rematch between Sean Brady and the guy that's holding the welterweight title belt as of right now. And the way that I see this fight going down, JDM is known for his boxing ability. His hands are absolutely crisp. His boxing defense is a little bit sometimes lackluster, but it's there. It's pretty good. The takedown defense and him working with Craig Jones and Volk, he's been working hard with it. He likes to keep things on the feet. That's pretty much the name of the game for himself. And the guy that's holding the title belt holder as of right now, again, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting this dude's name. He really impressed me in the Leon Edwards fight when he beat him for the belt. I did not see his stand-up game and his boxing being the way that it is as of right now. So he's showing levels up in the game that he has. He's been working. Again, he's had a camp with Khabib and Islam and them boys. And while he's been working with them and his fellow brothers, his grappling and his wrestling game has gotten a lot better. Has some subs, but again is a decision merchant because the last time he's finished somebody was actually against Sean Brady, which is actually kind of crazy. But besides that, it's been a long time since Belal actually got a finish. Thankfully, I just remembered his name. I don't know how I remembered it, but there he goes. He got the victory over there. His kickboxing and kicks are pretty solid. They're pretty decent. Nothing crazy of note. Same thing with JDM. JDM uses his kicks here and there too pretty well, but again, mostly everything is with the hands. And if this fight goes the way that I believe it will go, I think that Belal Muhammad is a little bit more confident with his boxing, especially with the showcasing that he had against Leon Edwards. But Leon Edwards' boxing game and his defense is very lackluster, and he gets hit when it's not things in his range in terms of kicking range and being long and rangy. He has issues with his boxing defense, and I think that JDM is a lot more sharper with his boxing defense, and I think he's a better boxer than Belal. But I think that kind of negates it because Belal, again, is pretty decent with his hands. And I think what Belal is going to do is be what we don't want it to be. But I think it is unfortunately going to come down to it. I think we're going to get a control fest, whether it be in the clinch, whether it be a few takedowns, top control, not much work, very boring, smudge fest. People are going to incite riots. People are going to be pissed off. People are going to be like, oh my God, this guy is seriously the champion. And yeah, because the more and more things stay on the feet, the more and more a chance that JDM has to be able to win this belt and potentially knock out Bilal Muhammad, who can be chinny every now and then. And the more and more I believe that Bilal, yes, has confidence with his boxing, and he knows that he can be able to get in some exchanges, and he wants to get in and test his boxing ability with one of the best boxers in the UFC as of right now, and especially in his division. He wants to test that, but I think once he tests that and he notices that he's starting to lose in a lot most of those exchanges, he's just going to use that as a basis to be able to get in, get the takedowns, or force the clinches. Get him towards the cage, get the knees to the thigh. Really fish and try to be able to get hard those takedowns. I think he'll have some success on some of them. I think he'll fail some of them. But I just think that that's what we're just going to get, man. I think we're just going to get a Bilal 4-1, 3-2 decision. Very boring, very uneventful. And while there is going to be some moments, especially I think early, that Bilal is going to have his confidence with his hands, I think it's going to wane. And he's just going to rely with his takedowns. And he'll have success with it, unfortunately. So, yeah, I think Bilal is going to retain. And if he doesn't, then I mean Islam titling for the belt versus JDM, pretty decent matchup. But I kind of don't want that to happen because I want to see Makachev versus Topuria 100%. So biased a little bit, yeah, whatever. But I can see JDM winning this, and if JDM does win this, I think he has to chin him. I think he has to knock him out 100%. He has some subs on his record. He had the sub over Randy Brown, but I think with the hands and him getting a nice combination off and landing some nice power, that's the only way that I think that JDM can be able to pull off this type of victory. But obviously, like this video. If you like this video, comment your opinions on what you think is going to go down. What are your predictions for this UFC 315 card? And subscribe, UFC fans. If you're here, you're here for a reason. Obviously, you like what you see, you like what you hear. And there's more of it that's going to be coming. Trust me. Thank you guys again for watching again, and peace.